Good morning, good afternoon,
What's
good
up? What's
evening,
up?
wherever you are in the world. You got the Bailey boys on the mic on the podcast. We ready to bring you some information on the topic that we talked about last time. We was going to work on three phases of the topic, and the name is paradigm shift, and we're focusing on insight, energy, and execution. So, the last podcast we kind of talked of on insight, and this one here, we're probably going to talk about all the topics in a nutshell. But we'll hone in on energy, and we'll just take it where the conversation goes.
Yep, yep.
Last time you seen it was just me and Mike on the line. We got our other brother on the line. He's shorter than us all, but Patrick
That,
back.
that's only because I was adopted.
And he's got a bigger head. Can you see the span? No, I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
playing.
Um, one thing you'll see is we like to have fun. Every time we come together in the room, we're having a good time and enjoying it. So we expect to do the same thing today.
Absolutely.
Um, so what I'll do is I'll just do a quick recap of what the paradigm shift, insight, energy, and execution is, and then we'll hop into a quick intro, and then we'll jump right into it. So, in short, I would say definitely got to jump back and take a look at the first podcast, and it really expounds on it a little bit more. But to give you a little bit of what it is anything you have in life that you are trying to achieve. It might be a dream, it might be a vision board, it might be whatever. Even buying a new car or just going on a vacation. You know, the way that you go about it is you gather information, right? You get as much information, as much intel as you can on whatever it is that you're trying to achieve or do in your life. Um, and then from that point on, that's where during that gathering of information, you get energy while you're doing it because you get pumped up. You're thinking about how much fun you're going to have. You're thinking about how this is going to change your life. You're thinking about just all of those things to the point of where you get chills, you get goosebumps, and you build up that energy that you're going to need for the execution phase. Um, and during that energy phase, you have that's where the passion and the determination and all comes into play. And then you get into the execution phase. And if you listen, it's gather information, which is insight, build the energy, which is your passion and your motivation, and then you get into the execution phase. And a lot of times, me being from my background, the execution phase is very short. And you spent most of your time in the insight phase, the energy phase, and then the execution. But if you don't gather that insight, you don't have the energy for it, the execution may be flawed. You may not be able to execute to the capacity in which you thought you would be able to. So
Okay.
again, that's what.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So that's kind of like the overarching, and then I'll kick it over to Mike and let him touch on that too, and then we'll kick it over to well, do an intro on yourself first, and then jump on that, and then we'll kick it over to Patrick and let him touch on that too.
Again, I'm Mike. And I really focus on that. What I was going to say to your point, CJ. If once you gather the information, the reason you have to be, you got to make sure you get the right information because whether you get the right information, the wrong information, you're still going to put energy on it. So if you were supposed to go right and you went left, you can apply just as much energy going left as you would going right, but you end up at the wrong destination. And so you're going to put energy anyway. So it's important to get the right insight, the right understanding, the right direction, if you would. And more so, this is everybody gets excited when it's new. You're excited about it. You're gonna get that excitement, but 5-10 minutes down the road, that energy is gonna burn out because it might require work. You start a marathon, you're excited about that marathon. You get that first mile in, it's like, man, tired. I really didn't prep for this. Well, how do you get the energy to finish that race? Where do you draw that from? And that's what we want to really explain is not just getting the energy, because that's going to become innate. It's just going to get there on its own. That's just going to happen because it's new, but you got to have the energy to push through to the end. And where does that come from? How do we draw that out? How do they get? What about when nobody's around? How do you pull that from yourself? Um, and that's really what we want to touch on as well, is not just getting the energy, but holding and harnessing that energy so that you can finish that race. And
All right, look like we
look
got
like we,
Oliver hopping
we
on.
got we got the fourth one in, the fourth horseman, if you would. That's Mr. Oliver right there.
We
Oh,
just
we
Uh,
lost you.
dipped out. But anyway, he didn't have the energy. Uh,
Nah, he'll hop back on.
but
but I kick it over to Patrick to talk a little bit about that insight and why that's
hey everybody, I'm Patrick. Just real quick, I'm also a pastor, so if I get a little long winded, just charge it to me. I get three closings. You know what I
don't
mean?
worry, we got a button for that.
But anyway, first of all, I just want to tell everybody that, for me, um, I love everything about the energy that everybody's speaking about. But I read in the scriptures, not trying to go preach on y'all. I just want to use it as an example. When they came out of Egypt, when the Israelites came out of Egypt, I was reading that scripture where it said they were in the wilderness, and I had an aha moment when they said the water became bitter. The truth of the matter is that they were drinking the same water, but the water only became bitter when it took work. And so to tag on what CJ and Junior was saying, you know, the insight and the energy is kind of a hybrid thing. How do I keep that energy and not lose focus on my plan? And so I tell everybody all the time, you got to write your plan down, but be adjustable. And a lot of times when we have to adjust from what we got going on, that's when we lose the energy because we're feeling like we're failing. And then, another insight is, you know, failure is on the same road as success. You got to fail forward. So when you think about stuff like that, you just got to make sure that you are not losing the energy while maintaining the insight so you can hit the target. And don't feel bad because you didn't hit the target that you wanted the first shot. Adjust. Adjust and keep that energy. And when you can't maintain the energy, you got to kind of turn it back on with passion. Is this really something that you do? A lot of great thinkers of our time, they say, when you find something that you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life. You know, I've learned that doing what I do is not work. And I tell people, you know, when you need to take a break, take your break, but don't feel like you've got to do what I do because I've got what I need. This is not work to me. I'll put in 12 hours. I'll put in 16 hours. Now I'm not saying you have to do that, but what I'm saying is while I'm putting in the 12 to 16 hours, that's my energy and my insight working together so that I can make sure that I stay on track to hit the target, even if you have to take a break. Even if you have to take a break, I can fill in. So that's just my little intro to the energy and insight there. So
All right. Well, look, we had Oliver come on the line, another brother, from our little town. So, can you hear us pretty good, Oliver?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm having audio video problems over here, so sorry about that. Trying to get
All
everything
good, all
adjusted.
good. We
good to
like to
see you,
keep.
man.
Good to see y'all. I ain't seen y'all since y'all was littles.
I know, man. I just got fatter.
Hey, some of
that
us
baby
still
phase
little.
is over.
Hey, some of us still little. I'm gonna tell you, it ain't the one that's talking right now. Hey, so I don't know if you had the opportunity to check out a little bit of the first one, but we just was kind of doing introductions and kind of recapping on the insight, energy, and execution, how we were talking about it in phases, and how that applies, and that's not necessarily the specific topic that we're going to hone in on. It's just kind of like the overarching blimp perspective of everything that we're talking about. And so, just I'll kick it over to you to do a quick little intro and then we'll jump right into it.
All right, let's go for it. I kind of came in to last minute, so my name is Oliver Broadus. President CEO of Half Price Geeks, On the Go Communications. I guess I would say I'm a serial entrepreneur. Always investing in something, doing something. If it makes money, it makes sense. If it don't, I don't touch it.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of been my outlook on business and everything. Just been a learning process, a growing process. So during this process, I've just been learning a lot and just growing a lot and delving into other things. That's where I am right now.
Cool, cool, cool.
Oliver, and I'll just kind of, um, it's all right, grab the reins right now. Talking on what we talk about. Here's somebody who Oliver is somebody who has actually gone through that. And he and I talk on, I would call it a pretty regular basis. And this is somebody who was able to change his insight. He had an incident happen, and I'll let him share that. That's his story. But he was like, you know what? I'm never gonna have what I'm trying to get working here. And that's about when, if I remember correctly, you started just made that decision to kick off to start your own business. And he had his ups and downs, but he mastered honing in and holding that energy to get through it. And his destination was a top floor penthouse in downtown Dallas. So he was able to execute on all of that as well. So to that point, not to I'm just piggybacking on your intro. Um, Here's somebody who has gone through all the different phases of it and was successful. He didn't just go through it and fall. There was failure, but he had enough understanding, he had enough drive, and he understood executing. That, okay, this didn't work. Let's switch it up. Let's try a different way. And I mean, look at him now. The Oliver we knew growing up versus the Oliver we see in front of us. Um, they're the same person, but a whole different
And
understanding, outlook alike.
and maybe I forgot to fully introduce myself, but I'm at a phase where the execution is here. I've executed before with other things, but I currently have just launched my insurance agency, and I finally got to the point where I'm in the final. I've already signed the documents. It's the launching phase. The
What we call
execution.
shameless plugs, everyone.
And so no, but no, what I'm saying here is, I'm trying to give people a backdrop of the where the information is coming from.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
you kind of led into that. It's not just a bunch of brothers sitting around trying to bring a platform. We just decided to come together to release the information from the platform, if that makes
Absolutely.
sense. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, so with that, Oliver said something that caught my attention. You hear a lot of people say, if it makes sense, it make money. Oliver said, if it make money, it makes sense. I like that.
there you go. There you go.
Or whatever. So, it's as I was sitting here listening to y'all talk, it's it's crazy because every time I heard the word work, all right, it was almost like has negative connotations, all right. And you talk about you're not working when you're in something you love, right? And that's where that energy and that motivation and that drive comes in, when you can say, you know, I'm not just working in something I love. I'm maybe just doing or executing or enjoying life in what I'm doing right now. And so I think to before we just jump into it, what y'all talked about was, you know, all of us have been in a certain place of where we went through each part of those phases, the insight, the energy, and execution. But I think it's important for the world to know every single person has, no matter how big or small that is, has went through those three phases in their life. All
Absolutely.
right. That's from going to school, getting good grades. That's from buying a new car. That's from just making a decision to do something. And in order for you to make a decision to do something, that's where you had to start gathering that intel, getting that insight, and understanding, okay, is this where I want to be? And the more information you gather, just like Patrick said, he's done different things. Junior, you've done different things. All of us done different things, and a lot of it, where you are today, you can probably clearly articulate the difference in energy that you had preparing and growing into wherever you are. Um, you know, I tell you, I don't like getting up every day in the morning at 5 o'clock to go to work or whatever, but there's a sense of passion behind what I do, and that's what drives me. It's so much passion. I don't even sleep that much, but again, it's exactly. So when you're doing what you love, you don't even look at the negative aspects of what you're doing. You focus on the positive. So, but
Real
so
quick,
again, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, a lot of people are amazed that me and my family, we don't use alarm clocks, and
No alarm clock needed, baby.
it started with me. You know, I just I tell people all the time, your life is gonna change the day you decide. You can decide to stay where you're at, or you can decide to be better. But you still have to decide, and many people are afraid of that decision. Or they think then the decision is too intimidating. But where I was going with that is we don't use alarm clocks because we naturally, our body has been trained and conditioned that when you got to be somewhere, get up. Sleeping into us is 7 o'clock, if that makes sense. We feel like we're running behind because we slept in at 7 o'clock. Now I ain't gonna say it's with all my kids, but my baby girl, she gets up. But my 13-year-old, she'll sleep till I call her name. But she'll stay up all through night. That's just kid. But she's excelling on a high level because that's the atmosphere that we've set. You know what I mean? So it's a decision, like you said. The day you decide, you can decide to remain where you are, or you can decide to be greater.
Yeah.
So you just got to
And
make a
I think
decision.
that I think that
Why don't you let
you know,
Oliver talk, man?
I'll
well,
go ahead.
he's next. My turn. My turn. No,
Hey, look.
but
Hey, well,
no,
let's tell the world now.
I'm
Look.
gonna say this, and I'll make it real short. You
Uh,
know, I think the thing that all of us had on this platform, what we decided to do is stop existing and start living. That's it. Everybody's walking around, and it's almost like we're zombified. And I've been there too. It's like we go through life, and it's like, okay, we get up, we go to work, we pay our bills, and then we do it again. And we're all doing the same thing, but then all of a sudden, something just triggers in our mind. You know what? All I'm doing is living. I mean, existing. Let's start. I mean, you're gonna put just as much work as you in existing as you do living. Just living is on the left side of the menu, and it's fun. You get to take trips. You get to do this. What you do with your 8 hours versus what can be done with your 8 hours. It's totally different. And until we understand that, all we're doing is walking through life. That's all we're doing. We're just walking through. It's redundant.
yeah,
So, and I think it's all a mentality. And I would dare to say, it's just whatever you decide to do. If you want to exist, that's exactly what you're gonna do.
yeah,
If you want to live, that's exactly what you're gonna do. But to Patrick's point, you got to make a decision. And I don't think that people are afraid to make decisions. I think people are afraid to fail. And a successful mentality is fail, 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 win. That's
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know. So with that though, I'm off the mic. No, I'm just
All right, I'll go ahead and jump in on that one. Ironic that we're talking about this. I had a conversation with a buddy of mine, and we were talking about fear. And I said a lot of times I think people we're frozen in fear, and so
mm,
it's like we are paraplegics in our own wheelchairs, and we're frozen. We only thing we can move is our eyes, and we're stuck. And you're looking around, life is passing you by, and you're just stuck in fear. You're like frozen in place. And that's why nothing, you wonder why is nothing changing? Why do I feel like, everybody else is progressing and I'm not? You're frozen with that fear. And a lot of times you have to realize, hey, I'm stuck. and you have to unstick, and you got to like let that fear go, and don't let it, keep you constrained to that chair. You got to get up and walk. And that's the most fearful part, is just like realizing, hey, I'm stuck, and then letting that go. And then, like I said, once you get past that, I mean, we have so many ideas. I mean, it's just like, okay, you can actually, you know, live life, do what you were destined to do, once you let go of that fear. It's like the little bird that's in the nest, looking down. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm fearful to jump because I've never flown before. But once you get out that nest, it's like, bam, okay, you're soaring. So it's just a matter of letting go of that fear, getting out, and doing your thing. And with time, one thing somebody told me a long time ago, we all have the same amount of time.
Yep.
Nothing separates us from, Bill Gates or whomever. We all have the same amount of time. It's what you do with that time is what
Absolutely.
matters.
And then you gotta also, to tag on what you're saying. Then you gotta also make sure that you understand that, you know life is not an excuse to take a step.
Yeah,
That's not an excuse to take a step. I hear people all the time saying, well, you don't understand, or
Mhm.
you haven't been through what I've been through. Make a decision. I'm not trying to be mean when I say it with that passion, but my life changed when I said enough is enough. you know
out of being time.
so what that this happened in 1993. So what did this happen in 1999? So what they kicked me out of an interview because I went on an interview that I knew I wasn't qualified for. That was I've been on several interviews. I tell this story all the time. I've been on several interviews. I remember I interviewed for a CFO position at a law firm because they called me. And after the first question that he asked me, he and I started laughing because I had no idea what he was talking about. And he said, "Why did you even come?" I said, "Because y'all called me." And I said, but it gave me the experience to interview at that level. Does that
Absolutely.
make sense? And so it gave me more confidence to where when I went somewhere else, it was not intimidating. So with that being said, I tell that story because to break your fear, a lot of times you just got to show up.
Mm.
There it is.
Show
There it
up. And if you show up, then you can make a decision at that point if that was too much for you or if it was not enough. But it's something. The biggest thing I'm trying to get at is in that energy and insight and on your journey. I tell people, enjoy your journey. Enjoy the journey. And laugh at everything's funny when you're making money. Period.
Mm,
So I can laugh at a loss of $100 when I got 10,000 to spare if I did something stupid. But if I got $100 and that's all I got in the bank, I'm about to die.
there you go.
Mm.
So my biggest thing is enjoy the journey. Don't forget your insight. Don't forget your energy, but have fun. Like I said, go. I have people call me all the time. Man, I'm going on this interview. I don't know if I'm qualified for it. Go. They called you.
That's right.
Now, with me, my attitude was after about 3 months, they'll find out that I don't know anything about being a CFO at a law firm. But I've made enough money that I can just leave with my chest stuck out because it worked in my favor. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, hey, it's crazy you said that because as all of y'all were talking, it's one thing that we can all agree that fear is. Fear is the ultimate trainer,
Yeah.
right? And it's gonna lead into what we're gonna kind of talk about, and we're gonna touch on it, but we're not gonna necessarily gonna stay on it. But really, we want to talk about being broke as a mentality, right? But what I would say is being broke is hard, but developing wealth is hard too. Hey, you can choose your own heart.
Yeah.
Either sit down and cry, or like everybody said, take that step forward. A leap of faith. You hear it all the time. Take that step forward. And I tell you, man, it's it's funny. I share my story a little later, but it's funny of how you talk about fear and talking about a mentality, and you're talking about leading a group of people in fear.
Yep.
um, we've all been on the platform of where we've influenced a group of people, one person, whether it's just brothers talking, or whether you in front of a large group and having to motivate them, or take having that large group take that first step to into whatever destiny that you want to go. And one thing you got to understand is we can't let the fear, we can't let difficulty determine our destiny,
Absolutely.
right? And so again, just it's a mentality. We talked about insight, but um, you know what I'll do, man, and what we can do is we can just kind of I want to jump in with a question, and we'll kind of just ping pong that question, and then just go where the conversation takes us. So for me, I'd say what are some of the things that y'all saw that automatically just honed in on this person doesn't have the mentality or the drive or even the desire to want to change, right? Because that's the broke mentality first. Is if you don't have a desire to change, then but you complain about where you're at, and you want to pull other people down, then to me that's kind of like the broke mindset, a broke mentality. And it's not just about financially, we're talking about life. So don't use names. We ain't gonna drop nobody names up in here, but
I can, if I
yeah.
can, I'll start with that, because it's easy for me to identify. It was, as everyone knows, I've had, 18 plus years in sales. And one thing, it wasn't just sales, it was direct sales. Whereas we were in front, we were eyeball to eyeball with our customer, talking to them. And the type of sales that I did, generally take anywhere from about 45 minutes to an hour and a half to go through that process. And I'd hear people, saying they couldn't do this, they couldn't pay this, they couldn't pay this, but they would go with that client, and for that 45 minutes, they wouldn't do anything. It just be like, okay, you were there. Why you're complaining about your bills, but you were in front of this client and you chose to do nothing? I mean, what did you show up for? Don't complain to me about your bills if you have the same time that this person had. Both of y'all have two entirely separate, you know, people, yes, but it's the same amount of time. And they did all the work. You did none of the work. Y'all did the same amount of appointments. Only difference is from what you see is your check. And they were complaining about, I don't have this, I don't have that, I can't do this, I can't do that. But what did you do with that time? That was wasted energy. What'd you even show up for? It was just like you showed up to sit around, and to those people, I would say, I just told them, you know what, you need to do this. When it's time to pay the bill, if you're gonna continue doing what you're doing, at the same time that everybody else has, go to your family and just tell them, I didn't care enough about you to work. And did that work all the time? And yeah, it sounds kind of harsh, but they were blaming the business for their situation, to my point, versus doing what they're supposed to do. It was always somebody else's fault. It was never their fault they ended up where they were. And that's a broke mentality. As long as you're blaming somebody else, you're never going to have control. You're never going to have any change because you can't control people. You know, you can't change what a person how a person what they do, if that makes any sense. But you can change what you do, and that might change what they do. So you can't control that. I don't know what Patrick, CJ, Oliver, I don't know what they're thinking, but I can influence their thoughts by the things that I do. So instead of worrying about what they're thinking, I'm gonna just do what I gotta do. And that's when I realized, being the difference between being broke and having a broke mentality, rather, and a wealth mentality is, whose fault is it? Is it my fault? Who are you blaming, rather? Am I blaming myself so that I can control the situation, or am I blaming somebody else? Um, which I can't control. Control what you can control. You know,
Mm.
and those are that big difference in mentalities right there is who are you trying to control, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
if it don't start with self, then that control is gonna be all over the place. You know.
Absolutely.
So, but Oliver, I mean, you got anything to share on that?
I would say, since we're not naming names, I'm gonna put my name on out there. I don't always have the answers. But I guess with me, one of the things was listening to people talk about motivation and all this other stuff. And there was a time when I was like, man, like you understand my problem. Like, yeah, that's all fine and glory, but I'm talking about right now. You know, I got these bills right here. But when I stopped and I think, okay, I have to change my thinking, my mentality, and I gave it like really, it's like some like really thought about it, like, well, what am I thinking about? Am I thinking negative all the time or positive? You know, or am I making excuses? And a lot of times I was justifying my current situation. And when I realized, okay, like, hey, you can change this, and you can change it now. You know, the power of now. You
Mm.
know, what can you do right now that can put effort toward changing that? And I started looking at everything like that, and I was like, okay, well, let me stop making excuses, and let me start making solutions, coming up with
Mm.
solutions to the problem. And so I would do that, and like I said, I changed the people I hung out with, and that was hard for me too because it's like at this time when you broke, you're like, well, I'm broke. I'm hanging out here. My friends broke. We all broke. It's comfort in numbers, you know. We just a bunch of broke people together,
But numbers.
right? It's like, and so when you start like getting out of that crowd of broke people, and you start like, okay, let me talk to these people that like look like they got some money over here, and it's like you feel intimidated and you feel like, well, I don't belong, but I do, and it's like, ooh, like what can I say with them? I'm like, they don't understand payday loans, they don't understand like car and repo status, they don't understand all this, and so but I still like I pushed toward that comfort zone, that comfort level, and I was like, hey, they got something that I can benefit from, and I had to change, that about myself, my thinking, my crowd, and and when you're running with people, you I'm trying to think of the analogy that somebody told me, you basically rise to that level, so if your friends at a certain level, you're gonna rise to that level with what they're at without even trying, you know and because it's like you're seeing what they're doing, and you're by default, you're going to come to that, to that level, and that's kind of how I kind of help get out of that mindset and that rut. And here we
You
go.
Yeah.
say we're the average of 5 people we hang
I,
around
I I
like
was
that.
just about to hit it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Show me your friends, I tell you who you are.
Yeah,
hey, look,
absolutely.
the before we kick it over to Patrick real quick, it's funny. You mentioned it, about you're the average of 5 people that you hang around, but Oliver hit on self, and he talked about how he is about to change his circumstances. All right, it's going to be a deliberate effort, and if you listen to what he just said, he literally went through the insight, energy, and execution phase in his short story there. All right, and so that's powerful. And that goes to show it can be this small in what you're using that insight, energy, and execution towards, or it can be something big, right? For the rest of your life, right? You should always be gaining insight for life. So yeah, definitely like that. So Patrick, I'll kick it over to you to jump on and touch on that too.
Well, part of what I was hearing, is the accountability part, and I'm real heavy on accountability. I've grown to be real heavy on accountability because if we all admit we're speaking about this because we've all been in that situation where we blame something else. It's not my fault. Things happen because of this and things happen because of that. Well, but I'm trying to get over to the point where you know there are certain things that I pick up when I'm looking at someone who has a broke mentality. We can recognize it because we've dealt with it before. And so what I'm saying is I had to realize that I can't take everybody where I'm going.
Right.
Because everybody wants to save somebody or help them be better. And there were so many times in my life where I just sat back and I was like, man, you know, I want this more than you want it.
Mm.
And that was a hard thing for me to have to swallow. And I didn't hate the person, but I had to figure out how to communicate that you don't want it bad enough without offending you. And here's the other thing. I'm gonna say this and it sounds weird, but at one point I needed to offend you so you can decide to change. And
Yeah.
so it's weird how that happened because I offended you, but then I gave you a hug. Does that make sense? And
Mhm.
so that's kind of what we have when you have someone. I was working in mortgages, and I said anybody who wants to buy a house, give me a call. There are no secrets in mortgage. Okay, and so there was a couple that came to me, and their credit was just not at the level to even qualify. So if you got to a certain number, I could get you done, but you might have to do a little bit more work than the next person. We all have to submit the same information, but your work might be a little bit more because you have to rebuild some stuff and fix some things where the other person already got the stuff fixed. Does that make sense? We're all submitting the same paperwork. And so well, my credit's not good, my credit's not this. First thing I need you to do is call this lady to help you with your credit. I need you to do what she says and then stay in touch with me and communicate with me. I would give them 5 days before I followed up with them. 50% of the time, it took after we got off the phone for that person to make a call. That person wanted to be different. That person wanted to come out of their situation. The other people, it's 2 weeks later. Now I ain't even got around to calling her yet. Well, you're not ready to change. So it goes through back to what we're talking about, that execution. If you decide, right, you got a plan, you had insight, I want to buy a house, I'm finally making money. And here's the crazy part. I used to say all the time, man, my credit don't matter as long as I make enough money. Stupid. Stupid. And the reason why I say that is because I had to go back to what you all were saying, hang around people who had money and good credit, and they weren't using all of their money. They were using other people's money to be successful. And I had to learn that mindset. I was like, man, I ain't getting no credit. I ain't getting no loan. I don't need it. I'll pay cash for it and stay broke. And I'm just pointing out that you know we think we're smarter, and you can't reinvent the accountability wheel.
Absolutely.
You can't reinvent it. There's people say, oh man, you can just 2 to 3 hours a day and you can be very successful. What they're not telling you is at the beginning they spent 70 hours a week getting to that 2 to 3 hours a day to maintain what they built in the 70, 80 hours a week. You see what I'm saying? They don't want to tell that part. And so when you talk about someone who uh is stuck in that broke mentality, it's not always their fault. They
Mm.
duplicate what they've seen. Like for example, uh, if I've only seen this much and I haven't done the research to go find more information for myself, you know, then this is what I'm gonna think that life is. This is where I'm gonna think that life is. You know what I mean? I'm good right here. I can drive a Bentley, but is it productive? Is it efficient? I told me and my wife, and I'm gonna end it in a second. CJ, I see you looking. No, I'm just playing. But
That's that
but
past thing coming out.
but me and my wife, we were walking through Augusta Pines, and that's a nice golf course. Tiger Woods played out there and everything. We walked into this house. I had just started a trucking company. We were doing about $60,000 a month revenue, you know. And so I'm looking at them numbers. I'm like, yeah, yeah. So let's go look at this $1.3 million house on the golf course. And so we were walking through that house, And I had, it was almost like a supernatural thing. It just came to me like, man, people ain't financing this. They either gonna wire the money and own it, because I was looking at the HOA fees and everything else. You know, the HOA fees by itself is $3,000 to $5,000 a month. You see what I'm saying? And so I did numbers in my head. I was like, man, if we finance this with my little $10,000 down, uh, that's $9,000 a month, and I ain't even ate yet.
Yep,
And
yep.
so I'm walking through this house. I'm like, man, this is nice. We got a movie theater, man. Look at this, you know. And I'm excited on $65,000 in revenue because I had never seen that before. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so my whole point was, when you start being able to be accountable and change your mindset of being broke, you see what I'm saying? You can walk into a situation like that and then say, no, I'm not going to spend all this money on this house that I don't need because I'm still not wealthy enough to own it. You see what I'm saying? I'm not trying to make a lot of money. I'm trying to create generational wealth.
Absolutely.
And I'm learning all kinds of ways of how to do it. But we were walking through that house and we had that aha moment. And now we live in a really nice house. We've got a car paid off. I got in an accident, so I had to get another car. But the whole point is, most of our debt is gone, and we're able to, like, we can literally live off of her income by herself. Now that's creating wealth, and that's changing your mindset from being broke. I don't have to have the super cable. I don't have to have all that because I don't get to watch TV that much because I'm busy creating wealth. Does that make
Absolutely.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying you crazy because you watch TV, but I'm saying for me, I just don't watch that much TV because I'm trying to find a way to be more in the lifestyle that I've created for myself.
Yeah. Hey, that's pretty good. Um, you said something key there, and you said that in a nutshell. You didn't say this exactly, but a broke mentality. You know, it's not about the money. You got rich folks who have a broke mentality too.
Yep.
All
Absolutely.
right, and that money is not a determination of, you know, how their mindset is, right? So be cautious, and Oliver, I heard you say something earlier too, which is important, is you got to surround yourself with people that are going to places that you want to be, right?
Absolutely.
And in order for you to really determine those people, you got to get to know them, because it can be a lot of people out there that's very wealthy, that's had generational wealth passed down to them, but seeming that generational wealth is seemingly about to stop,
Yeah.
because they have that broke mentality. And you know, and Patrick, you said something earlier. Some people, you get frustrated with them because you want it for them better than they want it for themselves,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and that's for sure. A broke mentality. So how do you recommend, because we touched on like the fear piece and taking that first step. We touched on the mindset and changing self and reflecting on self. How do you what do y'all think it takes for people to just jump in, to just get out of that fear, or just jump into the fear and take that first step? And I'll start it off with, I think ET says it, or whoever says it. You gotta want it as bad as you want to breathe,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And Junior, on the last one we talked about, we touched on it, and you said you saw your child was hungry, and that touched the core to you, right? And to me, it's that something, you know, like Patrick said, that supernatural feeling. It's something that's gonna come, and it's just gonna not necessarily, you know, make you take the step, but it's gonna push you. All right, it's like it pushed you in the back real hard, and you just had to go forward, because that what you saw back there was something that you cannot accept. You
I
cannot. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I remember in basic training, when I was getting ready to rappel off this wall, and on the way up there, I was watching, and it was some people that would get stuck. You know, they just wasn't gonna do it, and they had all the mats and everything at the bottom in case you fail and didn't do it right and all that. But I saw the drill sergeant start pushing people, and I was like, man, that's dangerous, man. What if they? But they had to decide, after they've been pushed, to hold that rope right and do
Mm,
what you've been trained to do. And so the point I'm trying to make is, you know, you have to get it in your mindset that you deserve better than this. You deserve better than this because many people feel unworthy. They won't walk into a room of a formal atmosphere. Like I see it all the time when you go to conferences and there's a lot of people dressed up. They got on their nice dresses and everything. You see all the people walking past the door and they peeking in and they looking, they saying, "Hey man, I wonder what's in there." And oh man, their plate's $500 a plate or $1,000 a plate, and they don't feel worthy to be in. Y'all good? I'm gonna go over here to Wendy. But I got to a point in my life where I told my wife, I said, "Listen," I said, "we deserve better than this." And I said, "Here's what we can do." I said, "You can stay at home. You can be the housewife, but I'm gonna need you to be the best housewife you can be because I'm gonna be out." I said, "Or we can take this weight and both put it on our shoulder and walk the same way and make it lighter so that we can be successful together. And we still gonna have to put the work in, but let's go walk into an environment where we may feel like we don't deserve to be in. Let's walk in those environments." So we did a little different things. Actually, we start doing things like Oliver said earlier in the crowd that was above us. Most people like to be in crowds that they're the smartest person or they're this. It's okay to be in that atmosphere where somebody's smarter than you. And in fact, most businessmen surround themselves with employees that are much smarter than them. They know a little bit about each area, but they put people in place that's more smart, more, be, much more smarter than they are. Like I had a first time I was able to get an executive assistant was in my last job. I had to empower her. She's the one usually been responding to emails on my behalf and doing all. But what that did, that freed me up to go out and shake hands and everything. And so when she sent a message out, that was really me talking. But she knew more about the system than I did because she was in the system while I was shaking hands. So it allowed me to be in that audience where, of course, I'm not the smartest person, but I'm gonna hang out with you guys because I deserve to be here.
mm,
Does that make sense?
yeah. Hey, and man, you touched on it, and Oliver did too earlier. You know, he talked about um, you're here, and sometimes the people or the environment that you're in, is here, and you got one or two things. You can surround yourself with an environment that's here, like-minded people, and you can rise to the occasion, or you can surround yourself and be like, I got to be the smartest person in the room, and hope, live on hope that you can pull your environment up to at least where you're at. So
100%.
you're either going to rise to the occasion of those others, or you're going to struggle through life trying to pull the wrong people up to your to where you are. And I say wrong people loosely, because it's not, I'm not telling anybody on here, don't take the time to, help somebody,
Best.
don't take
Yeah.
the time to invest in somebody, don't take the time to put in the work to try to change that mindset with the people love, and so forth. So, but again, hey, you either gonna rise to an occasion, or you gonna struggle through life trying to pull people up and the surroundings up to your occasion.
Yeah,
Sometimes you gotta do both.
yeah. There's a couple of points I want to make. You can't help everybody. That's one
Mm,
thing I was guilty of trying to like pull everybody up to my detriment. And I'm quick to triage just like emergency room, I got a triage. Okay, which way do I put you? Which category do I put you in? How severe are you? Okay, are you willing to accept my help? If so, okay, let's talk. But like I said, what's they saying? You can drag a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I ain't dragging nobody. I'm done dragging. if,
100%.
if you ain't trying to get to this water, I can show you the way. But if you ain't trying to get over there, I don't know what to tell you. Holler at me when you're ready. So then that's how I look at things. You get worn out trying to pull people and you make them. You want it more, like you said, Patrick. You want it more than they do.
Yep.
And you got to realize, okay, if you don't want it, then okay, then that's your decision. And I'm gonna go get some water. I'm gonna get full. I'm eating over here.
Yeah.
Hey, it is what it is. So that's one thing that I just if you're willing to work, I'll work with you. But if not, I realize that's where you are. You're not in that spot to where you're ready to do it. Okay. The other thing, I think when broke people have an advantage that they really don't think they have. And I say that to say is being broke is expensive. I mean, think about it, like it take a lot to be broke.
Yeah.
I mean, your interest rate is higher, your credit card rate is higher. If you can get a credit card, your payday loans, their interest rate is out the wazoo.
Yeah.
And like everything that you get is at a higher rate. And we're okay with that.
You paying every 2 weeks on a car.
Yeah, that's all you know. You pay it. So I was like, right now, as a broke person, you're doing what you must do. Man, I gotta pay this card now. Man, I gotta pay this. You made it a must, therefore you're making ends meet. You're barely making ends meet, but you're making them meet because in your mind, I must do this.
Yeah.
And so it took me being in that situation to like having the expensive payday loans. I had not just one, I had 3 or 4 payday loans and a title loan.
Yes, sir.
And the high interest rate credit cards. And I sat there and I'm like, man, like, and I looked at it, I wrote down everything that I'm paying every month. I was like, damn, I'm like,
yeah.
Bro, you paying like this kind of money? Like, where's this kind of, how are you able to
how's it happening?
Yeah. And I was like, and I thought about, I was like, I had to pat myself on the back. I said, you were doing the damn thing. I was like, man, like, and still this day, I cannot fathom.
Yeah.
And when I tell people the amount of money that I was paying back there, like, how's it even possible?
Yeah.
But in my mind, it was a must. I must pay this. I must make these ends meet.
Yeah.
And so when I got through that mentality, when I looked at it, and it's like, I tell people sometimes I had to put my rich people glasses on.
Yeah.
And I was seeing things from a poor perspective. When I put my rich people glasses on, my sight was excellent. I had excellent vision. It was just distorted a little bit.
Yeah.
So when I put my rich people glasses on, I said, okay, you're paying all this money to these people every month. Okay. You're doing it. Okay, now I need you to pay this off because now I need you to make that a must.
Yeah.
And once I make that a must, okay, I got to get out of this situation.
Yeah.
And I'm not content with this. I want to change. And once you make that a must and you say, hey, I don't come hell or high water, it's gonna happen. It happens.
Yeah.
Then when I got out of that situation, okay, I don't want to go back there. To the location again. I don't want to be broke again. Yeah. It's okay. Now you're paying that kind of money. Okay, pay yourself that kind of money. Yeah. If I can pay you $700 a month for one loan, and I do it, can I put that $700 into a Robinhood Fidelity account? Can I invest in crypto? What can I? You're already doing it.
Yeah.
So pay this off. If you're gonna put yourself in that kind of bind, let me benefit financially from it. Yeah. Put yourself in a bind into where now, okay, I'm paying the same amount, but now I'm paying myself because you're capable of it. I showed myself I was. And so that's when I kind of had to change that mindset. And I said, being broke, having payday loans helped me to realize the power that I had within me to do that. And so now, like when I think about things, before I'd have been like, man, that's too much money to be putting over there. And now I look at, man, that's not enough. I'm like, okay, let me go through a little hurt, let it sting a little bit financially, but it's going to benefit me in the long run. Me paying off my during that time period, I had to let it burn a little bit. So Netflix cut it out.
Yeah.
Cable. I not watch TV, man, but I was like, man, I had the premium package, I had HBO, Showtime. Let it go. And it was hard. I'm just like, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna sit there and look at these 4 walls. And I'm like, okay, pick up a book and read. You know, what can I cut out
Yep.
that I really don't need? And you try to justify, man, but I can watch some documentaries on Netflix. I can, cut it out. And once I whittled all that stuff down and made the sacrifice, and that was step one. How much do you want it? How bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to let all this stuff go? And I did. And so that's kind of how my approach was. And that's why I tell people right now, if you broke, man, you're at advantage because you already hustling. You already got what it takes in you to figure that out. You're doing it already. You just got to put them rich people glasses on and
Yeah.
change that perspective and get that crystal clear because you're already doing it.
Real quick, I was going to tag on to what you were saying.
Uh-huh.
I look at people a lot, Oliver, and I tell them, I said, the pain ain't bad enough yet.
That's it.
Because when it hurts bad enough, like you don't go to the doctor, to the hospital and say, I just came to pay y'all $500 and let y'all know that I'm feeling good. You don't schedule your doctor's visit based on you feeling good.
Yeah.
You got to recognize that something ain't right.
Yep.
And so when you get in there, the doctors, they ask you, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is the pain? I kid you not. If you say 2, they're gonna turn around and walk out. But if you say 10, they're gonna start calling people in to help you because they know that you're gonna agree to what it is they have to do to you to fix it. You see what I'm saying? Because you want to get out of that situation. And so I was sitting in the hospital one day, and I choked on something, and I just didn't know what,
Bone.
what was happening. No, it wasn't no bone. It was I'm trying to eat too fast.
It was some bread.
Well,
What's
whatever.
that?
But anyway,
No,
uh,
that's what it was.
no, but I had choked on something, and your gag reflex is going. And so I'm sitting in there, and the nurse was like, well, how bad is the pain? I'm trying to be a man. I'm like, man, it's about a 2 or a 3. And she was like, okay, and turned around and walked out. But I'm feeling like I'm dying. I'm choking. And I said, hey, where are you going? She said, well, you told me it was a 2 or 3. So that means that we got to go get somebody else who is in more pain than you because they need us. You can handle yourself right now. You're breathing. You. I said, no, it's about an 8. They grabbed the bed and they pushed me in the back. You see what I'm saying? Because I told them I was hurting bad enough because I didn't know that they was gonna have to stick something down my throat to go down there and see what's in there. Now, if I was at a 2, I would have said, no, you ain't sticking nothing down my throat.
Right.
Why are you trying to choke me? I'm already choking you. I would have argued with the lady when they know what they're doing to help me. And I'm getting to that point to tell you that it's amazing what you said, Oliver. Is like because I was that person. You know, I would take a repo and say, man, I can go back and get another one. They ain't gonna check my credit anyway. You see what I'm saying? I would smile about
how I handle this.
I'm gonna show y'all how this works. Come get it.
Right. Pick it up.
But I was paying $400 every 2 weeks.
Oh man.
Because I didn't want to drive the Impala. You see what I'm saying? I wanted to drive the nicer car, so they was busting me over the head for $400 every 2 weeks. And that's the cost of them not checking your credit. That's the cost of them not verifying your job. That's the cost of you having and I only had 28 months to pay it off. And soon as I went around the corner, it broke down.
Uh-oh.
And then I had to pay for the repair. They talking about, well, as long as you make your payment, we can finance the repair. So your payment gonna go up to $1,000 every 2 weeks for the next 6 months. You see what I'm saying? And we sitting out here, we hustling with that. We making it happen. We riding, man, I'm doing it. And then, I remember the same thing happened when I went over there to Aaron's rental. They charged me $3,000 for a washer and dryer. And it wasn't even the front load. and I was like, well, when I get tired of paying it, I could just send it back and it ain't gonna hit my credit. So my whole point, we laughing about it because it's hitting that space. But when I realized that the pain was just bad, I'm tired of being broke. I'm tired of not having stuff. I'm tired of not even being able to look at my account and see money in there. You see what I'm saying? That it's not that I want to just see the money, but I was tired of not being able to do that. You open up your account and bank with Wood Forest because they allow you $800 a month in the negative. You see what I'm saying? They allow you to keep on swiping. But what they're not telling you is once you get in the negative, it's going to take you 2 to 3 months to recover. And that's with focus. So the biggest thing is the pain wasn't bad enough. And you was alluding to that when you were like, man, they have the advantage. They already doing it. We just got to help them be able to see you already got the skills to pay the bills. Now I just got to make you understand, you know, let's change your perspective and your position so that you can pay the bills and live.
There you go. I'm gonna
Junior,
piggyback right there, and
Junior, let me jump in real quick, and
go ahead.
then I'll kick it over to you. Keep it short. And the reason I did it because I wanted to piggyback on that real quick before you take the mic and be on it for 35 minutes. Uh, hey, but
Oh
Patrick,
man,
well, Oliver, you and Patrick said the same thing about the broke people having the advantage. I tell you, man, as y'all were talking, I was like, man, they do, and they don't even know it. All
Yeah,
right, that the biggest driver is for them to maintain where they're at, and they're gonna do everything possible they can to maintain that life.
yeah,
But then when you that broke mentality is when you introduce them to better for yourself, better for your family. Oh, that's too much work. Oh, that's too hard.
yeah,
Man, you working hard over here, being in the same position that you know,
yeah, yeah.
you know. And then you talk about all of us are doing it, and it's crazy when you think about it. And I think we have to get beyond that as a human, as a mankind. Is we all laugh and giggle and talk about the experiences of where we were when we had that mindset. But what's crazy is when you're in that mindset, when you're in that lifestyle,
It
it's
ain't
so
fun.
embarrassing you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, it ain't
You
fun.
can't even you can't even look at self to say, man, Oliver talked about he did like, man, why am I paying all this money to man, I could be a multi-millionaire if I just save all this or cut these bills. But again, I don't know if you did or did not, but look, I've been through some things that I tell you, I'd be like, man, I ain't talking about this to nobody. And it's fact that we all know when you're sitting in church and the pastor preaching and it seems like he's talking directly to you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I've been in so
You're
many
wrong.
hey, I've been in so many environments where I'm sitting back there looking like trying to look around at everybody else, and they were talking directly to me. You
But
know,
everything funny when you're making money though.
hey, everything funny when you're making money. And then Junior, I kick it over to you after this is we all can sit here and we talked about a mentality. I'm telling you, if you bring up the word 2020, that's like blasphemy right now.
Yeah,
yep,
And if you bring it up to the right person or to the right person, you know, they gonna tell you 2020 has been the best year ever because now I have it has trained me, taught me, and gave me a vision far better than what I ever had, going in the
absolutely,
direction and the stepping stone that we need, where we want to be. So a broke mindset is and y'all mentioned it earlier, a negative mindset, right? Nobody's telling you don't think about the negative because that's a part of the insight, right? That's a part of the plan. You got to get all the 360 perspective before you move on to try to execute this plan. And if you get 355, 350 or whatever perspective, that's still pretty good, right? But you got to get it from a whole, that 360 perspective to understand where you want to be, how you're going to get there, and execute on that plan at the highest probability of success.
absolutely.
So, but I'll kick it over to you, Junior, and let you take the reign.
Well, here's something that I noticed, and I hear you guys talking about it. You know, one of the things that made that transition for me personally is I was sitting around listening and people say, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of this, I'm tired of this. Well, at what point do you just get tired of being tired?
Mm,
As soon as you get tired of being tired, when you get it, you'll get it. But you'll take on a whole new mindset. Great. You're tired of not paying your bills. Boom. Okay, you'll figure out how to do that. Now it's I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. Okay, just get tired of being tired. I'm tired. I got tired of saying I'm tired of everything else. I was just like, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted. But as soon as I realized that, my mom said to me one time something, and she said, I was like, man, mom, I'm just tired. She was like, boy, you too young to be tired. You just exhausted. It's like, whoa, I didn't get it then, but as soon as it clicked up here, I'm just tired of being tired. Okay, you know what? I'm just exhausted right now. I got plenty of energy. I just need to take a breath. So, they say you get your second wind. Well, what do you do to get that second wind? You work out. What are you going to work out with? You know, it, Instead of physically work this. Put do your research, study, fix this. You're gonna work out. Either way, you're exerting some energy somewhere. And what we had to realize on this entire platform is if you're really listening, we just learned how to exercise our information. That's what we're doing. That's what our workout is. We're working on information, working on the credit, working on our crowd, working on, it's we're not trying to get overtime in hours. How can I make this how can I make more in the same 8 hours I'm spending working? How can I make more with the same money I'm already spending? And when you get tired of your situation, for real tired of it, you'll start doing different things. Piggybacking on CJ, you know, it's perspective. 2020, they say is the year of clarity. How much clear is your sight? You know, where it's either the worst or the best. It's like no in between with 2020. This is either the best year. Nobody that I talked to in this 11, right at almost 12 months of 2020 has said, man, it's the same as it was when it started. Not one person. Everybody says it's either better or worse. The thing is, you get to decide which side of that table that you're on.
And
You know,
real
so
quick, um, I say real quick, but I get excited. No,
me,
but
me.
no, but you know, when you say, I'm just gonna tell you, this has been my best year, and it's shown me how to take L's. You know what I mean? How to take the losses. And still keep going. I had someone walk up to me and they was like, "Man, I can't afford to do this." And in about 30 seconds, their whole life changed because I looked at them and said, "You can't afford not to."
There you go.
And they were like, "I never forgot that." And they said that kept ringing in their head. I can't afford not to. I can't afford not to. And so when you are dealing with somebody who we're living on the wrong side of things mentality, wise. When I say that, living on the wrong side, I use this in church when I'm preaching, I use it in business when I'm talking to people, I use it when I'm counseling people. I said you got to change the side that you're living on, because most of us run to the Bible or run to books when we're in pain. You see what I'm saying? We want to get an answer real quick, and when we find an answer, we close the book and we throw it to the side and say, I got it. But you got to keep on reading, because the rest of that is going to teach you how to operate in the answer. Does that make sense? And so when I look at it, I say, man, you're living on the wrong side. You know, don't always look at your L as a lack of something. Look at it as a learning. I saw a post on Facebook that says, I never lose, I learn.
Mm.
That's a mentality. I never lose, I learn. I get better. And so if you start taking on that mentality that I'm always learning, and dust yourself off when you skin your knees. When the little kids skin their knees, we'll sit there, and when you give them that, oh, you poor baby, you skinned your knees, they'll start crying.
You start crying. Yep.
But usually when you say, man, come on, get up, that's just part of being outside playing. They'll dust themselves off and they'll take off running again.
Yep.
And then the
Mm.
next time they fall, they'll be like, oh, I just fell. I just fell. Y'all see me fall? You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? And that's a mentality shift at a young age, and we forget that we already know how to operate in pain because somebody told us that you only worth $8 an hour. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Behavior is learned.
There you go.
Behavior is taught. Behavior is
Hey, but
learned.
watch this. If there is anyone out there taking notes, I would just suggest to write this one down. You know, change your thinking, change your life.
Yeah.
Change your thinking, change your life. And I'm gonna give a really brief example of what I'm talking about.
Those
Like I said, I was in direct sales. It was door to door sales, and we go up to a door and we knock on the door, and the person on the other side of the door opened up the door. Hey, you know what? I'm here to do such 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 such, and without fail, 99.9% of the time, the first thing out of that customer's mouth is, "Come on in, but I ain't buying nothing."
Yeah.
Mm.
And it
You got
used
me
to
with that.
be, huh?
You got me with that when you sold me.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, but you know what? Here's what happens when this is change your think and change your life. When I started out, people would say, you know what, I ain't buying nothing. My mind would say, why am I wasting my time here? They ain't buying nothing. But as soon as I changed that thought process, here's what I realized. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, how you doing? I'm such, such, such. Come on in, but I ain't buying nothing. Here's what triggered in my head. All I did was gave you my name. Why are you telling me that you're not buying anything? What I realized is they weren't talking to me. They were talking to themselves. They weren't trying to convince me that they weren't buying. They were trying to convince themselves, no matter what I see, don't get it.
Yeah.
Regardless
Mm.
of how excited I get, don't get it. So whereas I started out going in with the defeated mentality, what I started going in is with, I've already won. They're already there. They're already trying to come. They ain't even seen nothing yet. Wait, let me give them the best show of their life. And bam. And to this day, nothing has changed. And, it's how are you looking at it? Change your thinking, change your life. You know, and I end with this and see that this is what I was saying that I want to kind of get out. If you guys could put yourself in this, just picture what I'm telling you in your mind right now. There's this guy that it's like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning in New York. Um, it's busy. People are on their way to work. People are trying to get here, trying to get there, and he walks into a subway with his two kids. And these two kids, he sits them down and they just start terrorizing the place. There's a little old lady over here. They knock her coffee over. There's a guy in a suit that they rip his newspaper out. They're stepping and jumping on people. Just running rat. And the dad's just sitting there like nothing's going on. And all of a sudden, this guy comes over and yells to him, "Sir!" The guy kind of snaps to. He's like, "What's wrong with you? Your kids are running around terrorizing everybody. They knocked over her paper. They're jumping on people, knocked his coffee over. They've done this, they've done that. What's wrong with you?" The guy looks up and the first thing he does is, "Boys, get over here." And just like disciplined children, they run straight to him, have a seat. He stands up, he says, "Everybody, I'm sorry. We just left the hospital and their mother died of an aneurysm. I haven't figured out how to explain that to him yet." Now, all those people that were upset, they started out upset. He looked like a careless parent. They looked like undisciplined children. But after they got more information, which was the mom just died. How do I tell my kids that their mom just died of an aneurysm? The old lady, she grabs the kids. They people start coming over comforting them. They got treated a different way because they had a shift in their information. You see what I'm saying? And that's what happens to us in life. If we just get a shift in our information, things change. You got to change your information. You got to change your thinking, change your life. If you think you're broke, as a man thinking, you're broke. If you think you're successful, as a man thinking. If you think you are defeated, as a man thinking. And what we're trying to do on this platform is we're trying to make it get people to a place where they can do it on purpose with intent. You're gonna accidentally win sometimes, you know, but how do you win on purpose? Don't, a loss is a loss, that's true, but learn to embrace the losses. Take that L, like Patrick said, embrace it. Successful people understand I have to fail to succeed. It's just a lesson in failure. Like we said on the last podcast, people always say it, success leaves clues. So does failure. So does failure. Failure leaves clues too. You know, but with that, there's a shift of mentality, that paradigm shift, and CJ, I'll kick it down to you. We,
So it's funny we was talking about L's, um, and I'm about to show y'all something, and I don't want y'all to steal my stuff out there. Put that patent out there already. Nah, um, but I was drawing something, and I don't know if y'all can see that. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. So we're talking about the L's, right? And we all been talking about the 360 perspective, right? And so that first L right there is the one we all know, right? And if you just walk through life just taking L's and not doing nothing with it, then that's all you're gonna be, right? But if you take that L going through life, you're gonna take a L this way, you're gonna take a L that way, and as you're going through life, you got to gather that insight. And those arrows mean I learned something, I learned something, I learned something. And if you continue to learn something, your ebbs and flows are gonna change through life, but you got to take that to get to success. So all
absolutely.
those L's, it's like Patrick said earlier, you gotta fail forward, right? And so again, don't look at those L's as the end of my life, right? Look at those L's like it's a trainer. Look at that fear like it's a trainer, and it's pushing us and propelling us based on your mindset to where we want to get that success over there, right? And so I just been working on kind of like logo type stuff and all that other stuff. So I thought that was pretty interesting the way we were talking about it. And then we've been talking about time, right? And I think people they see people with quick success and they believe that's their journey too,
Yep,
right? They see people with quick wins and they believe, oh, I'm supposed to have those quick wins too,
yep.
right? But it's a mindset, right? And the biggest thing that I feel that we all have to do is just keep moving forward, right? Because um, the only time limit that's on your journey that we all know for a fact is death, right? And granted, we don't know when that day is, but you gotta keep on pressing towards where you want to be until the man upstairs tells you it's your time. That's the only dictator of your time, of when your journey is stopped, right? And if you're a spiritual person, your journey isn't stopped there. It's really just getting started, right? Um, but with that, I know we've been on here a minute, um, and we want y'all to know we don't work to time. We work to quality, right?
You
And
go.
so I just want to open it up to anybody. If y'all want to share some more nuggets, some more knowledge, or whatever, and then we'll kind of wrap that thing up and hopefully get some folks excited, get this posted, and hey, subscribe below. Um,
Like, comment,
hey,
subscribe.
like, comment. Hey, I just had to throw that in there because I hear people doing it. Hey, we do the same thing too, y'all. We're just normal people out here that's been through some things, and we just want to share it with y'all. So guess what? We get out there and we watch other people podcasts too, and we learn from it. We get out there, we read books. We ain't write the books, and we learn from it. So regardless of
We all writing the book. Just
all that, as he said earlier, that's a shameless plug, right? Uh,
absolutely, but I am not ashamed.
Hey, hey, that's a good one. That's a good one. But I mean, again, we're just normal people, going through this thing called life, and we just choose to do it in a manner of, hey, we're gonna pursue our dreams. We're gonna pursue our what we want for our families, generational wealth. We're gonna change the way that we are now for the betterment of not only just our family but the people that we surround ourselves with. And again, everybody needs to understand you influence, Junior. I think you hit it earlier. Your influence goes well beyond what you can even imagine. And that's for anybody listening. All right. In the military, I would tell you, I tell people this all the time. You know, I'm like, look, you need to learn something from everybody you come in contact with, right? Whether good, bad, or indifferent. And if you're not, you're failing yourself. I'm not telling you that you're gonna learn everything good from me, but you need to be learning what I can do, what I will do, what I'm not gonna do, and how I not the way I don't want to be, right? As a leader, because in the military, in the army for specifically, hey, you either continue to pursue progress, career progression, move up in the ranks, or we're gonna move you out, right? So it's a forced mentality that we instill in the formation, as we were saying, is, hey, you either gonna move up, progress, or this ain't the career for you, right? We don't have somebody that come in as the first rank when they come in the military and they can stay that for 20 years. Nah,
Right.
that's a mindset. So, but with that, whoever jump in first, we all talkers, so I'll let
Go ahead.
y'all kick it off.
We tend not to we tend not to give up the mic, so we're gonna let you go first so we can battle.
I talk. I try to be conscious and not talk too much.
Hey, Oliver, we all conscious about it too. We just keep doing it.
You should ignore it.
Like, damn, we ain't bring him back no more. Like, they ain't talking too much.
Nah, you
Nah,
good.
we in this. It's all love, brother. We in this together, man. Just trying to change lives.
But no, I say this to say, a lot of times we think that it's too late, and it's never too late till you're dead. Um, it's not too late. And a lot of times we think that our situation is, you don't understand my situation. Our situation is the worst. Can recover from whatever it is going through right now, whether that be bad credit, whether that be financial ruin, whatever that situation is, it can be recovered. I'm living proof. At one point, I thought, like, man, like, this, I can't recover from this. And sometimes, honestly, I'm just being real. Sometimes in my mind, I'm like, well, shit, I got all these bills. Maybe it is easier to go play in traffic. And it's like you lose hope. And I'm here to say that hope is there. You can recover from anything that you're going through, whatever it is, emotionally, financially, whatever. It's just that you have to say, hey, you know what? Want, I want change. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting um, different results. When you realize, okay, I'm tired of being insane. Let me do something different. Let me think different. You know, let me make an effort, something different that I'm doing today that I didn't do yesterday. And it starts with that. We don't, we sometimes we glorify, we make things more difficult than what it is. Simple things. Just put one foot in front of the other. You know, don't look at the top. Just look at that next step, and whatever that is, and just a step. And then one day you'll look back and like, wow, like, okay, I've come so far. I was down here and now I'm up here. So I say that it's change is possible, hope is possible. Your situation is possible to get out of it. It just takes desire and effort and faith and hope and mix it all together and do it.
Absolutely.
Hey man,
So,
what's up with that?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Well, just real quick, CJ, you said something earlier. Um, you were talking about time, and then you were talking about being embarrassed to talk about your situation and your issues and your mistakes. We've all been there, and one of the things that my mother used to say to me, going along with what we all got the same mom except Oliver, but we're not excluding you. We're just saying that we all come from the same. And I was adopted, so
And
knowledge.
look,
except
look,
y'all.
But
Except y'all.
during that time, everybody mama was the same. Like
I know,
everybody
right?
mama whoop everybody. So
yeah. So,
You got been to my
but
house.
but but she used to say all the time, how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a time.
And my response in my head was, you don't. I ain't eat no elephant. That's nasty. You know, and I said that because the harsh realities of life will leave a bitter taste. Go back to when I first started. I said when they came out of Egypt, they were drinking the water in the wilderness, right? And when it said in the scripture that they had to do something, it said the water became bitter. It didn't say the water changed because they changed their atmosphere. It didn't say any of that. The water became bitter. And so it wasn't that they moved and the water got some dirt in it or it got some filth in it. It was just, now I got to work to get this water. And they were sitting there, and they were just kind of, woe is me. Does that make sense? And then the other thing I saw, naturally reading those scriptures, we think they went into a place that was the desert. We thought it was barren. But I looked up the definition of wilderness, and some of the biggest trees and the biggest animal and the cleanest water and all that stuff is in the wilderness. So God didn't take them to a place that was barren. He took them to a place that was plentiful. And they just had to realize that it was enough in there for them to create. And so my whole point in saying all this is, if anybody's listening, here's a key point that you can't ever forget. I want to encourage you to make sure that you understand that it's enough out here for all of us to eat. It's
Hey,
enough for all of us to eat. Don't try to reinvent the wheel of accountability. It's enough out here for all of us to eat. I'll be honest with you. I see. I've been doing indirect sales for a long time, and basically and it's in the automotive industry. Basically, they have not stopped opening up dealerships. They have not stopped. And dealerships will open up right next door to each other, and they might talk trash to each other, but they all selling cars.
Yes, sir.
So my whole point to that is if you have something in your heart, don't copyright infringe. Don't try to steal their stuff, but find your niche and go through the process of duplicating success. That's all we're trying to say. Get it in your mentality that, hey, this is a must. Like Oliver said, I must do this to be different. Get into your heart and say, decide. Get into your heart and say, oh, I'm going to take these L's and I'm going to keep on learning. Get into this your mindset that, hey, that person is trying to convince themselves not to do what I'm getting ready to make them do. When a person shows up to a dealership, I learned this. When a person shows up to a dealership, they came because they want a car.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't get offended because they say, do you need any help? No, leave me alone right now. Don't get offended. Just leave them alone. And when they're ready, they'll say, well, I want to look at this car, because they still have to come to you to get the keys. And you need to realize that when you have something that meets a need, and it's a hot sizzle thing, they can treat you with, like with their wall up. Don't get offended about the wall. But what I'm saying is, they still got to come to you to get that service. So don't let your emotions and your feelings get wrapped up in somebody telling you no. They still got to come back. And even if they don't come to you, guess what? Every no is going to lead you to a yes. So I just wanted to put that in there, back to that. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You cut it up into chunks that you can get it. Everybody want to put the whole elephant on the pit and destroy your pit. You see what I'm saying? That's not how it works. You can't just drop the whole elephant in the pit. You're going to destroy it. Get you a few slices, and then master how to eat it. And I promise you, the more you start filleting and cooking it, you're going to get better, and you're going to get better, you're going to get better. And then it's going to start tasting better. And you'll be like, man, my favorite dish to cook is the elephant.
Ain't that bad.
You know what I'm saying? So stay encouraged and enjoy your journey. That's my message. And stay
hey,
encouraged and enjoy your journey.
hey, I just want to say that if I eat an elephant, it's just like my chicken. I don't like the thighs. I want the leg. Hey, but Junior, before I kick it over to you, man, that's funny Patrick said that, because I was just the other day driving through. driving downtown, and I seen them build more dealerships, and I see these dealerships with hundreds, thousands, several hundreds of cars on the lot. I'm like, man, who's buying all these cars, man? How are they constantly moving cars like that? And again, it's about the perspective. It's enough out here for us to eat, right? Time to eat. It's enough. It's enough out here for us all to eat. And but the mindset of so many of us is that, oh, they got it. Patrick said it earlier. I don't belong. That's oh, I don't need to be. No, you do belong. But nobody is gonna carry you on their shoulders for life, right? I need y'all to hear that. Nobody is gonna carry you on their shoulders for life. They didn't say they wouldn't take the time to carry you on their shoulders for a little bit of time, right? We're trying to pull people with us, and we asking for people to, hey, pull us on your journey too. Because hey, we ain't perfect. We ain't where we want to be. We still got a whole destiny in front of us.
I
Absolutely.
still have accountability partners. You know,
Yeah,
you
there
never
you
lose
go.
accountability partners, people that's gonna hold you accountable at every level.
There
You
you
know,
go.
a lot of us don't want to submit to authority, and that's one of the things that I learned in sales as well. Is most people, they can do the job, but they got a problem with authority.
Yeah.
They don't want to be accountable to nothing. Why you
Mm.
calling me? You know I'm coming to work. Well, you're not here on time. Well, it ain't 8 o'clock yet. Well, don't come here at 8 o'clock and then decide you want to start getting ready at 8 because we supposed to start production at 8. Be here early. That's a commitment that I'm looking for. Can you get here 10 minutes early to prepare for your 8 o'clock start?
And that's that military in them, y'all. Hey,
Absolutely.
hey, look, we got to think. If you show up on time, you're late.
Absolutely.
Or whatever. And then last thing, Junior, before I kick it over to you is, you know, no, I just because I think it's important, and he's gonna do it too. Everybody on here is using strong words. They're saying, "I will," "I
Mhm.
must," "I can," right?
I
And
am.
I am, until you make a decision to go on your journey in life and use those words that I will, you're gonna be stagnant, right? So those are strong, determining words that gives you the energy to really just continue to push. Um, and I'm sure Junior going or Mike is going to use them words here and as he shares his last thoughts in 35 minutes.
That
Uh,
boy named Junior.
And I'm gonna piggyback on it all and try to bring this together. And I'm gonna start with what you just said, CJ. Um, One thing that I started doing was making affirmation, you know, and I'll start with push, and you can put it on either side of the table that you want to, push, push until something happens. If you want to go spiritual, pray until something happens. You know, I was told one time, like I told you guys, when I started in sales, I had quick success, and it wasn't because I was just oh so great. My situation required immediate success. I didn't have time for failure, So, but what I found out is, I was loud. I was loud, because that's winners win, losers lose. And when winners win, I thought that's what you were supposed to do is be loud and let the world know I won. They see the scoreboard. You don't have to go there with it. And but when I started growing, people said, I used to say, well, I already know that. I already know that. I already know that. And then somebody told me something, and it just to this day it still resonates with me. If you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. If you're the smartest one in the room, you are in the wrong room. What are you there for? How are you gonna learn from somebody? And to that I say, the teacher appears when the student is ready. And a lot of times people don't get that, but a great example of it is, you grow up and your parents tell you don't do this, don't do this. They say the same things repeatedly, and then along the way, somewhere down the line, somebody says the exact same thing and light goes off. It's not that they were better at saying it, you just were ready to receive whatever the lesson was, and that's it, you know. to what Oliver was saying. It doesn't matter if you're 50, 70, 20. If you fix your credit, it's still a boss move. If you buy a house at 50, at 70, at 100, it's still a boss move. Don't Nobody cares about what age you were when you bought it, except for the people that ain't gonna get it. They're the only ones talking about that. You can't take everybody with you. It's you just can't. And to move in this journey, you're gonna have to accept the fact that everybody can't go. And it's not that everybody's not capable of going. Some people just don't want to go. From the town that we're from, I hear people when I go to visit my mom. I still see people that we grew up with, and man, no, I'm just here, man. This is it. It's like, God, dog, man, can you not see past the city limit sign here? I met a guy that was in Fort Worth that had never been to Dallas, literally, like his whole life. I'm no exaggeration. I was just like, man, do you not have a sense of adventure? It's down the street. You you could take a bus there, man. $3 and a ride. You know what I'm saying? But they have no sense of adventure. And somebody will get what they need to get from here. Hopefully we can change the way people perceive things. Hopefully, um, we can change the way their sense of urgency and get some people to understand how to execute. Because you may be getting the information, you may have the right energy on it and have no idea how to execute. Hopefully, we can help with that. Whatever that may be, your credit, getting a home, starting a business. Now is a better time than ever to start a business. Why? Because the only people you're going to get are the people who can afford it. That's it. Those are the only people buying right now, the people who can afford it. Right now in this pandemic, people are getting their yard cut and they ain't doing it themselves. In this pandemic, people are buying houses. They ain't, you know what I'm saying? If you can sell a car online, man, anything is possible. They got a car vending machine. Who would have thought? I mean, think about it. Anything is possible right now. So I'm gonna end with, man, change your thinking, change your life, have a paradigm shift. And if y'all have questions, put them in the comments below, and we'll make sure we address them in the podcast to follow. But CJ, the floor is yours, brother.
Well, the only thing not possible is what you choose to say is not possible. All right.
Absolutely.
So to kind of wrap it up, and we talked about that paradigm shift, and you heard everybody on here talk about um, failure several times. People are afraid of it. Failure is the key to success. What they say, Thomas Edison, all we know is he created a light bulb, right? But we don't even talk about his journey to creating that light bulb, right? Failed a
Absolutely.
thousand times, probably more.
Hey,
And the
CJ,
only thing, go ahead.
real quick. Fear, false evidence appearing real. False evidence. You got to have the right information. But go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, there it is. So, um, hey, the journey. Nobody on here is going to tell you that journey is easy, right? And
Right.
one of the key things is resiliency. And the only way you get resilient is when you go back to those key words: I must, I will, I can, I am. Those affirmations, right? Because when you have a developed resiliency, the negativity that you bring into that comes into your life, should I say, is just gonna go off one shoulder, go off the next, and you're gonna continue to push forward because I must, I can, I will, right? Um, and you heard us talk about it a lot as far as our little town, the way we were raised, and how it's still people there. And this is not a negative knock on anybody that's still there.
Absolutely not.
It's just a question of do you want better? And for all we know, you may have better in that environment, but and
Absolutely.
we're just looking from our perspective, you know. And so we don't want to come off as judgy at all, but we just want to have real raw conversations on how where we stand, how we feel, the environment that we're in compared to where we came from.
Absolutely.
And one of the things of you talk about that environment, Oliver talked about it earlier. Don't you want better for yourself? When you can see and you have that relationship with somebody who that's not the destiny that they chose for their life.
Absolutely.
But at some point in your life, right, you got to understand that you got to want better for yourself, as Patrick talked about. You know, and at some point in your life, you got to understand the problem may be the people that's closest to you. And
Or the
sometimes
problem
you
may be you.
exactly, the problem may be you, it may be the people closest to you, but until you look at self and until you really, as we're talking about this paradigm shift, get that insight and let that develop into that energy, right? You'll never get to that execution phase. Or if you get to the execution phase, it's it's not gonna be the best plan,
CJ,
right?
I gotta intervene right there. Yes, they will get to execution. It's just a matter of what are they executing on. You
Mm.
know what I'm saying? You're gonna execute one way or the other, the right or the wrong thing. So they need to understand that you're gonna get there, but you might not be executing what you want to execute. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
Nah, you good, you
you need
good.
to understand we are going to execute. We're going to. We're going to apply energy. Just might not be what you wanted it on.
And the key there to what he said is you are going to get the execution, regardless as if you have the best possible plan. But what you got to be prepared to do is when you get into that execution phase, hopefully your insight has gave you enough information to be able to alter that plan, to be able to adjust and be agile and flexible and continue pushing forward to get to that same place or that same journey that you were on your plate on your way to. So
Absolutely.
again, hey, the paradigm shift, insight, energy, and execution. Last podcast we talked about insight. This one here we talked about just about all of it, but we kind of focused in on the energy. You're seeing a bunch of passionate brothers on here, just really pouring their heart into you and having a good conversation about life, about a mentality. And the only thing we can share with you is our experiences, right? Where we come from, where we are, and what we've learned by surrounding ourselves with people um, that are better than us, right? Air quotes, but that have a mindset, um, and it's going to help propel us in the direction that we choose to go. And you heard the word there, we choose to go because it's a choice, it's a decision. And so, but we'll end it there. We're gonna be back on. Hopefully, we can get everybody back on, and we can talk about that execution phase more in depth, and understanding the whole paradigm shift. So, with that, we'll go ahead and end this, and y'all have a good one.
Hey,
Again, that
if we
45
could,
minutes.
if we could, Oliver, if you want to give us if you want to close us out, Oliver, with some final thoughts, man, that'd be greatly appreciated. All that beard, I'm pretty sure it's a lot in there.
All this
So
wisdom.
pull it on out, Mountain Man.
Throw me out there like that, okay? I'm like,
Oh man.
wisdom. Final thought. Let's say. Um, actually, I'm gonna put it back on you guys. I like to end things with the final quote. Give me a good quote that everybody, that whatever you want to share, whatever quote comes to mind, something that's gonna be the final thought.
Patrick.
Patrick, go for
Patrick. Oh, okay.
You need time to think about it. I got you.
No, no, you good. You know,
it.
well, just think about it this way. Um, Henry Ford said, "If you think you can, if you think you can't, you're right."
Absolutely right.
So whatever decision that you decide, again, there's that word, decide. You can decide that you can't, and you won't. But when you decide you can, either way, you're right. So if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't.
Mm.
Yes,
Who, Julian?
Oh, okay. I'll end mine with a little fable. As a wise man, he's a wise villager. And people, once a year, you can come around and ask him a question, and he answered. And he made some of the most successful people the big success, and um, married the right people and things of that nature. And the kid decides, you know what, the wise man, I'm gonna make him wrong. And so he got a canary and he put it in his hands like this, and he said, I'm gonna ask the wise man, is this canary, is it alive? If he says yes, I'm gonna squish it. If he says it's dead, I'm gonna open my hands and let it fly away. So he gets in front of the wise man and he said, wise man, I have a canary. What do I have in my hand? He said, you have a canary, my son. He said, okay. Is that canary, is it alive or is it dead? The wise man took a step back, looked at him, and he said, it's as you will it to be. That's
Mm.
life for you, as you will it to be. Okay?
All right, yep. I got just a couple. Um, so excuses only sound good to those make them, those who making them. All right. You got to get out of your way and don't justify your excuses by saying that's just the way it happened. That's just the way it is. That's just the way it was. Hey, learn from it and move on. Keep pushing. And the last one is we talked about fear a lot. In my opinion, fear is selfish. Right? Fear is selfish, and if you really think about it, it's that's your emotion. You don't know what you were put on this earth for a purpose, right? And your purpose could be to bless the people that's surrounding you. Your purpose can be to say something to this person that's sitting across the room. But you let your fear come in and selfishly keep you from sharing that blessing, right? So, especially in the industry, you talk about sales and different things like that. You don't know what somebody else is looking for in their life unless you have a conversation with them, unless you know them. So, again, don't let your fear be what keeps somebody else from receiving the blessing they were supposed to receive. All right.
All right, mine is. Oh, I just want to say this. A lot of people. How many seminars have you paid for? How many books have you bought? You only ain't even read chapter one. How many? How much equipment do you have sitting around that's collecting dust that you bought that you wanted to do that business with? A lot of times we have all this stuff that we get, and we get it to um, appease that desire of like, well, I did something toward that goal, but I didn't actually do anything toward the goal. You know, I watch enough people on YouTube. I've listened, but I haven't applied it. And so with that, and just to kind of sum this up, I say, if not you, then who? If not now, then when?
Mm.
You know, you've done all this stuff. You got it in you. You know, why haven't the world seen these gifts, these things that that you have in you, because the world's waiting on you. God gave that to you to share with everybody else. You got that secret sauce, so I mean, it's in you. So again, if not you, then who? If not now, then when? You've gone through, you bought all this stuff, you have everything. Stop being frozen in fear and actually execute it. Now is the time. So that's it. Not you, then
All
who?
right.
Then now, then, if not now, then when?
Oh man, that's what's up. All right, world. Hey, we appreciate y'all hopping on. Comment below, subscribe. Hey, we love to hear your feedback, and we'll end it there.